never kill myself. I don't care what they say. I don't care what video they show you. Never under any circumstance would I kill myself. It's haram. Never. I don't care if they put me back in the dungeon, solitary confinement by myself for the rest of my human years. I would never kill myself, ever, ever. So if that ever happens, God forbid, do not believe whatever garbage they tell you. The chance of me killing myself is precisely zero. Damage my influence. They have to damage my influence. They can't sit there and let me be influential because I'm saying things that they don't like me saying. And there are people sitting around going, he's saying things counter to our message and counter to our narrative. Get rid of him. And they have a pretty standardized playbook. And this is probably one of the first times in history where their playbook just isn't working. Cancel him. Well, he's still around. Oh, well, lie about him in the news. Just say he touches chicks. Well, no one believes it. Oh, all the comments are on his side. Everyone's calling us liars. Okay, then do it again. Then do it again. Make up a new girl. Then do it again. Find someone else. Yeah. And they keep attacking me with the same weapons, but the bullets are bouncing off. And that doesn't give me a sense of calm. That doesn't make me think, ha ha ha, I'm invincible. It makes me think, uh-oh. It makes me think, uh-oh, because human life is cheap at the top. It's very cheap. Interesting, because sometimes I analyze myself and think, why don't I just do that? Why don't I just disappear? You know, I don't need money. I don't need fame. Why don't I just disappear? And then you have to, I was saying this to my brother, and he was like, well, Genghis Khan didn't need Vienna. Some people are just wired that way. Like, Vienna's a long way from Kathmandu. Sometimes that's just the way it is, or Ulaanbaatar, I apologize, the capital of Mongolia. That's just the way some people are. If I see injustice, and if I see things which I believe to be false, I feel like I am obligated to say the truth. I can't explain why, even if at my own detriment. What am I doing this for? Like, it's to the detriment of my life. And I've had these conversations at length with the people close to me, and we're all saying the same thing. It's always been the same way. Humanity's always been the same way. There's been a select, small, few good men up against evil, and evil always outnumbers you. Evil always has more money than you. They always have more power and more influence than you. If you play any video game, when you get to the end boss, he always has more life than you. He always has more hit points, but you're the good guy. And it's kind of like, it's never been any different. At any point in human history, there's been the good guys up against the forces of evil, whatever they were of the time. And you've always been outnumbered, and you've always been supposed to lose. That truth is instilled by God in all of us. And I think if you tell the truth, you're a good person. And we now live in an information society, and by controlling information, they control how people think and act and react to things. That's all they have to do. They have to control information, and they have to be very selective with what they allow you to talk about and what they allow you to discuss and what they don't. And once they can do that, they can keep you bickering about garbage, and they can control the sensitive information, and then they run the world. So having all the information controlled and having this hard barrier on what can be discussed, that's how they can purport absolute fallacies. I think now it's been a couple years, we can probably talk about it. They psyoped the world into believing they should be afraid of the common cold. They psyoped the world into this. And if you think about how difficult that would be to do, how difficult would it be to psyop the entire population of Earth? Well, what you do is you just lie on repeat, and you don't allow anyone to say anything counter to it without hurting them the same way I've been hurt. And you just psyop them. It's actually amazing, because now I use that exact same psyop on people. I love it. I love it. So when I sit with someone who's not matrix-minded, when I sit with someone who is matrix-minded, like when the BBC walked in here, I'm like, do you all have your vaccinations? So yeah, a psyop is the matrix as a whole. Psychological operations are constant. They constantly decide how they want you to think and what they can do to make you believe that, right? There's a whole bunch of them they do. But it starts with tolerance. That's what I don't like about this whole guise of tolerance. It's not that I'm an intolerant person. It's not that I'm a bad person. It's not that I want to hurt other people. But when they keep pushing tolerance, what they're trying to say is have no standards or barriers or parameters for anything. That's what they want. You have to be tolerant. Tolerant of what? Tolerant of having your shop set on fire, tolerant of your kids being taught things you don't want, tolerant of crime, tolerant of your house being broken into. Like, tolerant of what? You're not allowed any hard barrier or any hard parameters as a man anymore. That's why they push tolerance. That's the beginning of it. That's the first stage. Once you accept absolute tolerance, well, then it's the end, isn't it? I'm tolerant of everything. I'll eat the bugs. Sure.
You'll tolerate everything.
I'll tolerate everything. I'm tolerant. Sure. So when I say things like I'm intolerant of certain things and people think that's bad, no, you need to have standards and parameters. And that's one of the reasons they also attack me. I say that men should be allowed to have standards and parameters in a relationship and in their lives. We should be allowed to decide who we want to marry, and we should have standards for her. They have standards for us. We should allow ourselves to have standards for her. We should have standards in what we'll accept from a government and standards in what we'll accept from a police force. We should have standards as men. But they're trying to erode all of that, because once that's gone, then your brain is completely empty. And then once your brain's empty, they can just plug in the slave program, and then it's over, right? You're a tolerant person. You're a tolerant person. Good. You're a good slave. Slaves are exceptionally tolerant.
So the short.
I'm going to start by saying jail was terrible, and I was miserable inside of the jail cell. It's a good thing depression isn't real, because I would have been depressed. But I think in life that you get what you give, and I wanted to feel happier, so I tried my very best to make people happy. So when the old lady would bring me my food, I would sit and say, oh, this is the best food I've ever had. I've never had food this good. Did you cook this? I thought yesterday was the best, but you managed to surpass it again. How'd you do it? What's the magic ingredient? And I ended up making friends with them. Like I had grandmas in there, the old ladies cooking the food. And by trying to make people happy and smile all the time, I started to feel a lot happier. But it's kind of scary. And I think the scariest thing about jail was the uncertainty of it all. If they would have said to me, you're in jail for 92 days, or even 5 years, you got 5 years, cool, I do my time. But when you're nabbed and thrown in a cell without charge, you're like, well, how long, is this my life? Is this it now? Is this the end of the story? I'm just in this cell. And I was picked up on 29th of December. I went through this quick court case. Like I said, I'm inside of the jurisdiction of Romania, so I have to be very careful with what I say, because the case is ongoing and we're in Romania and I can't leave Romania. But obviously Romanian court is in Romanian by law. So you're marched into this room, everyone speaks a language you don't understand for 15 minutes, and then you're marched off to jail. You're like, what even happened? What even happened to me? And they said, oh, here's the paper that explains it. I was like, that's in Romanian. And they said, oh, don't worry, you'll get a translation to English by law. I was like, okay, that's fine. But because I was picked up on the 29th of December and there was New Year's Eve and holidays, it was 2 weeks before I even knew why I was in jail. 2 solid weeks I'm in jail. No one told me in English why I'm in jail. I had no idea what the... Yeah, I have endless stories from jail. It was certainly... I don't think jail teaches you much new. What it does is confirm everything you already know. It confirms everything you know about the reality of the outside world, that you need to be physically strong so that you're not attacked by others, and mentally strong so you're not attacked by yourself. You learn who's on your side and who isn't. You learn who's a coward and who's not. You learn who's an opportunist and who isn't. Your circle, you certainly learn a lot about the people around you when you go to a jail cell, that's for sure. But you can't attack without catching flack for. There's certainly protected people. It's absolutely and utterly a club, and you're either in the club or you're outside of the club. She's certainly in the club, right? So if you say certain things about certain people, or you get a beef with X amount of people, or you discredit a certain person, they're going to try very hard to teach you a lesson for doing that. And you can see very clearly who's in the club and who isn't by the Philip Schofield situation. This is a man who has groomed boys and had sex with them, but he's in the club. All of the media headlines after 2 days are, let's have compassion, feel sorry for him, his mother's upset. They've attacked me for 14 months, day after day after day, and they relentlessly attack me. Nobody talks about my mental health. Nobody gives a shit how I feel. I didn't do any of the things he did. He's actually done things. I haven't done anything. But when you're in the club, you're protected by the media. When you're not in the club, you're attacked by the media. And that's how it simply works. You're either on our side or you're not. But to join their side, you have to sell your soul. Your sanity has a price. Your sanity is for sale. You have to sell it. You have to come along with your sanity, take out your mind and say, here you go. Take my sanity. I'll take 35 million. Yes, that is a woman. Yes, protect me. It's insane. And the reason these people join these clubs is because they know they're doing bad things and they feel that they need protection. The reason I stand up and argue against all this shit is because I know I don't have skeletons in my closet. You think I'd be on the internet talking like I talk and fighting the Matrix if I had skeletons in my closet, if I was actually a bad person? I've been investigated as deeply as a person can be investigated by multiple federal agencies for 14 months. I was locked in a jail cell and 2,000 people I know was called. My barber, my old housekeeper from when I lived in England 9 years ago, my gardener I used to have in another country I lived in. Everybody was called. And people were offered bribes effectively. The media are calling girls saying, if you have a bad story to tell about Andrew, we can pay you $30,000 if you have a bad story. That's a bribe. That's a bribe. And they still couldn't find anyone. Still, I've been investigated to a deeper level than 99.9% of people you'll cross on the street. And they're saying I'm guilty and I'm a bad person? You go get 20 men off the street and put them through what I've been through. You'll find more crimes than you've ever found with me. Absolute clown world. It's insane. And if I was part of the club, none of this would be happening. The media would be on my side. They wouldn't be hitting me this hard. They wouldn't be lying about me. All I had to do was sell my soul and sell my sanity, and I refused. And they're trying to punish me for it. That's what's happening. In history, it's always been the same. I believe it's always been a select group of good men who are up against evil. And I think they've always been outnumbered, and it's always been difficult, and they've always suffered. All of them. When I was in jail, the amount of letters I got from people, and it was just names of, and I'm not comparing myself to these people. This is the letters I got of Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, everyone who was unjustly imprisoned. Everyone's gone to jail. Because when you stand up for something, they end up trying to put you in jail. When you're a good person trying to do good, the evil, the matrix as a whole is going to try and throw you in jail. That's what they do. That's the punishment for it. And history's always been the same. It's always been a small group of outgunned people who stand up, who are to the detriment of themselves, too principled to allow injustice and evil to thrive. And they stand up and they're outgunned and they're outnumbered, but they're like, no, I have to tell the truth. If you play a video game and you're the good guy, when you get to the boss at the end, he has more life than you. He has more hit points and he moves faster and he's a cheater. He cheats. He cheats. The bad guy cheats. But you still win because you're good. And that's how the battle's always been. I would love for the world to be another way, but I don't think it's ever been that way. I think if you find any time in history, it's always been the same story. And now I'm in the position where, like I said earlier, what am I supposed to do? Do I have a life path in which I can genuinely help people? And do I have a life path in which I can genuinely do some damage to the evil to the world? Or am I just going to disappear like a coward and let them lie about me and do my time and shut up and delete my Twitter account and just go away? I'm saying how thoughts in jail are different than thoughts in the outside world, because this is actually an observation I had. In the outside world, I don't think you carry a thought for very long that you don't want to carry. You can sit and think about something if you want to. But if you don't want to think about something, you just get your phone out. Something pops in your head, I don't do it. You get your phone out and distract yourself. Or you get in your laptop, or you call someone, or you do something, right? It's not very often in the real world. It's not very often in the real world. You have a thought you don't want in your head, and you have nothing to take it away. You have no phone, you have no outside interaction, you have nowhere to go.
What a perspective.
Nothing. You're just stuck with it. You're stuck with that thought. So there were times in jail where, for the first time, like I have a lot of mental control, but there was the first time ever I'm battling with my own mind saying, I don't want to think about this. And I put another thought in the way. It was on the door. It was knocking on the door all the time. And this is for weeks. Because every day is the same. You never get the outside interaction. And you also, what made it worse is, you never get the answer. You know, like the open loop. If you ever say to somebody, I'm going to tell you something, I'll tell you later. And it bothers them. That's what jail's like. Because you might think of something. It doesn't matter what it is. I won't say what my thought was, but I'll give you an example. Let's say I thought, when did Constantinople fall? What year? I can't just Google it. I don't know. So it's stuck in your head, right? So if you have this negative thought, but in jail you don't. So you're like, I don't know. You got this in your head and you're like, I can't get this out of my head. So when you have a negative thought, especially if there's an open loop to it, you need to know something or you want to know something. You can't get it out of your mind. I would sit there for hours just meditating, trying to just keep the door closed on negative thoughts. It's really difficult. It's a really strange experience. And maybe in normal jail in Western countries where you get to go and interact with people, you can distract yourself. But I was stuck in a room for 93 days in one room. I did not leave. That was where I was. I was allowed to go to the fridge once a day, which is a 3-meter walk and back. That is it in my room.
You and Tristan are in the same room or no?
At the beginning we weren't, but then we ended up in the same room.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, the thoughts in jail are very pervasive. And it's also a long time, maybe never, in the outside world where I had a thought in my head for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. You just satisfy the problem. You fix the issue in the real world. In jail, you can't do that. So yeah, family and kids, and those are the positive things that you do think about. But it's difficult because I think of children, I think of legacy. And then if you're going to think of your legacy via your children, you have to think of your legacy via your actions. And then you have to sit and by extension go, well, truly, truly on my deathbed, truly, will I be happier if I gave up or if I continued to tell the truth? I'm scared of the regret of thinking, you know what, I was the most famous man in the world and every man on earth was listening to me and I was really making a difference, but I got scared. I don't think I can live with that. I don't think I can live as a coward. I'd feel like a pussy. I just feel like a wimp. And sometimes inside of men, that's all it takes for us to do the most stupid things there is. The idea of feeling like a coward. A man will run into a burning building to not be a coward. If the firefighter, they go, there's children in there, and the whole building's on fire. It's like, well, I can't be a coward. Oh, fuck it. And you'll risk your life. It's something that's built inside of us, honor and pride. It's something that should be. It's what they're trying to take away from us. But it's what used to be built inside of men. And I just feel like I can't give up. I know what I'm doing is good. I know what I'm teaching is good. I know that people don't like it, but I know I'm not teaching anything that's bad. And yeah, I want my children to be happy, but I have daughters too. And how do you make sure that your daughters are secure and have a good future? Well, I think you do that by building good men. How else do you do it? My daughter is mine now, but she won't be mine forever. She's going to marry somebody. I like the idea of her marrying a good man with honor and principle, a man like me. I don't want to marry some idiot. So they call me a misogynist and I'm anti-woman. I'm pro-woman. The best way you can improve the lives of women is make men, better at being men. Because when a man is a good man, he's good for all of society, including women. He's good for everyone around him when he's good at being a man. So I feel like I'm helping them as well by extension. And it's difficult. And yeah, I can't say with honesty that I strongly considered giving up. It never crossed my mind. It was there for a second, do I need to do this? And after like half a second, it was like, yeah, I do. I don't know why. I can't, it doesn't make logical sense.
Sure.
I look up to my father as a hero, and I would hate for my sons to look up at me and not see me as a hero. Because that's how I believe you should see your dad, as a hero. And I feel like and you're not a hero without an enemy, and you're not a hero without a fight. I have about 10 to 15 cups of coffee a day and 2 or 3 cigars a day, and I only eat once a day. And it's funny because people look at
10 to 15
cups of coffee a day minimum.
Wow. But you don't do drugs.
0 drugs.
You'll have a sip of alcohol every once in a while.
I used to. I haven't had alcohol in 9 months. I've quit.
But you're running on caffeine
and nicotine.
It's
It's funny because people look at my physique when I put pictures up and they're like, what's your meal plan? I'm like, bro, cigars, coffee.
Coffee and cigars.
Coffee and cigars. I eat once a day.
What time?
I eat dinner only.
That's it?
Only eat dinner and 8.
So you do intermittent fasting for
every
18 hours? What?
Yeah. And 80 to 90% of my calories are meat. That's it. I'll just have like 3 steaks for dinner. If I smoke and drink coffee all the time, I feel hungry, which motivates me, and I feel energetic. It's energetic hungry. That's how I like to feel when I'm working. I want to be hungry. If I eat, I'm tired. Life's too good if I eat. I'm in my mansion, I've just eaten. She's beautiful, I'm going to bed. No, but if I don't, yeah, but if I don't eat, I'm like, maybe I wouldn't say angry, but I like to have that tinge of irritableness. Does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe I sound crazy, bro. I had those.
Really?
I spent my commissary money on coffee and cigarettes. I had coffee and cigarettes and 1 meal a day, same.
So there was commissary money.
Yeah, so we had.
Who gave you that?
Yeah, so a friend of mine put money on my account. So I was a rich guy in jail, because in Romanian jail, most people haven't got money, right? I was rich. I was rich. There's a limit to how much you can buy, but I was spending the maximum. So I had plenty of cigarettes, coffee. I actually quit coffee. Now we're talking about coffee, and then I want to go back to the point you made earlier, but I quit coffee for the first 30 days in jail. Because I've never not been caffeinated. My experience of life is caffeinated. I'm a caffeinated human, right? If I'm awake, it's caffeine. So I'm like, I don't need energy now. I'm in jail. So I quit caffeine and all coffee for 30 days to see if there's any tangible benefits. And I can confirm to the world that there are none. 0. I did not sleep any better. I did not go to sleep any easier. I did not dream anymore. Nothing, absolutely nothing good happened except I was tired all day. It was garbage. I was like, give me my coffee back. I went back to my 15 cups of coffee a day. That's what the slave mind is. When your eyes tell you this is green, but the news told you it was blue. So it has to be blue. So when they're doing these things, it's nothing to do with caring about the mental health, of gender ideology, none of this garbage. They're deliberately attacking you and saying, what your eyes tell you is wrong. Because if they can make you start to admit that your own eyes are wrong, then what other defense do you have against propaganda? If they're going to give you a lie, but your own eyes can't protect you, well then it's over, isn't it? So all of these things they're doing, all of these things are a deliberate assault on the senses. And they do it by controlling the language. If you control what someone says, over time, you'll control what they think. You don't think what you don't say. It's very hard to live a life for 8 years, if you're lucky, and think things and never say them ever. If you think it, you're going to say it sometimes. You're going to give the idea, get some feedback on the idea, build on the idea, change the idea, whatever it is, through discussion. If you never, ever, ever discuss it, you're not going to think it. So they say, this is the truth, ignore your eyes, and you have to say it's the truth. You can't say it's not the truth. And the people who are in charge of the world, they think generationally. They have time. Right now, it's a joke. 200 years from now, it won't be a joke. 200 years from now, it'll all be fucking standard operating protocol. The grandchildren of the people who are in charge now, that's what they want. They'll pull it off in the end. Slow, incremental damage. They do it with nearly everything. They'll take all your rights away. They'll take 100 of your rights away. They'll upset you. They'll give you 99 back. We're good again. Don't worry. And the grandchildren of the people in charge of the world get what they want in the end. They think generationally. So now we're at the beginning of it. It's all a big joke, right? But especially before Elon had Twitter, when you couldn't say the truth online, when you couldn't say my eyes see X on the internet without going to jail or losing your account or getting a hate speech charge in the UK or some garbage, they're controlling what you think. And on a long enough time frame, what you think becomes true. We all believe 2 + 2 is 4. But with a hard enough psyop, if you can't say that, if you have to say it's 5, on a long enough time frame, math breaks down and everyone's just going to believe that 2 + 2 = 5. With monkeys and a banana and a water spout. Have you ever seen this? They put 5 monkeys in a room. And at the top of the room there was a banana. And when one monkey tried to climb up to get the banana, they turn on the hose and splash all the monkeys with ice cold water. So the monkey would come back down and wouldn't get the banana. And when another monkey would go to climb up, they'd splash all the monkeys with ice cold water. And what would happen over time is, when a monkey went to climb the rope to get the banana, the other monkeys would jump and pull him down and hit him and teach him a lesson. Don't go for that banana. If you go for that banana, we get splashed with water. Then they'd swap one of the monkeys out. Now there's a new monkey in the room who doesn't know the game. The new monkey would attempt to climb, and all 4 monkeys would attack the monkey, pull him back down, and kick his ass. He knows if he climbs the rope to get the banana, he gets attacked. He doesn't know he gets splashed with water if he gets the banana. He doesn't know the game, but he knows if I try and climb, they're going to attack me. After a certain amount of weeks, they change another monkey, and another monkey, and another monkey. Over time, you have 5 brand new monkeys who have never been splashed with water ever. But nobody goes to climb the rope, because if they do, they're attacked by all the other monkeys. And nobody even knows why.
Damn.
That's just how it works. If you climb that rope, we beat you up. That's just how it works. That's what they're doing on a long enough time scale to humanity. There are already X amount of people on the planet. There's already a population, X%, who knows what it is, who ignore their own eyes and repeat what they are told. You can't say that that's not what they're doing, because they're already successful with X amount of the population. They've begun. The seed is there. 2%, 3%, 7%, who knows? They've already proven they can do it. Now it's just a matter of not shutting up and hammering at home. Make sure they repeat it in schools. Children are young. They believe things. They're impressionable. Hammer it to the kids, especially. Put it in every Disney movie. Give it to the kids all day long. They grow up sooner or later. Long enough time frame, that's it. It's generational attacks. The attacks we're suffering now were started in the 70s and 80s. They take it over time. And yes, it's fantastic that those parents fought back against that school. That's fantastic. But there's a whole bunch of schools where they didn't. And who knows, okay, that particular book might be removed. A softer version will be implemented. Next year, maybe that book will come back. They have all the time in the world, all the money in the world, and they're insulated from these things. That's what's most scary. You talk about Vanguard and BlackRock and all these companies. What's actually scary about it is the people who are making these decisions are completely insulated from the consequences of their decisions. They're in Switzerland. They fly private. They don't care. You think they care about any of this crap? They'll say, oh, do this. Oh, it's caused a riot. They don't live there. They're nowhere near it. They have nothing to do with it. When's the last time you've even seen a politician? Do these people even exist? They have nothing to do with where they operate. It's actually amazing. When I was in Dubai once, I think it was about 3 years ago, I saw the leader of Dubai walking through the mall. I was like, he's a person and he just walks through the mall. I was so impressed. Imagine a Western leader walking through the mall. Never. Never in a million years. It's just pieces of paper, private jet, vanish. All these people who are in charge of everything don't even live in these communities. I do believe that yes, we can win, because I don't think you can fight to the best of your ability if all hope is lost. I do believe we're winning and taking ground back, absolutely. And I believe that we're doing that by purely telling the truth. What our eyes see is what's real. And we're doing it in the name of God, because you're saying Armenians are strictly religious. I think God and religion is one of the best ways you can combat these things. However, the fight is never ending, because they're never ending going to try and implement. You talk about ESG scores. It's garbage they put together. That's not going to end. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse over time. And it's kind of unfortunate and it's kind of upsetting that we still have this system where the people can be unhappy with something. The peasants can revolt to a degree. But does it even really matter at some point? You get to a point of power where you don't care about money. And then things are really difficult, right? When you control everything, you don't care about money. I mean, I'd like to actually argue. We talk about Bud Light. This Mulaney, whatever is it?
Dylan Mulvaney.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan Mulvaney.
Sweetheart, yeah.
And yeah, I know we've damaged their share price, et cetera, et cetera. I would believe people who own that company or are beyond that company, I don't think they truly give a fuck.
InBev.
I don't think they care. Maybe they care a bit. I don't think they're losing that much sleep over it. Maybe they are, a little bit. But I'm saying you get to degrees of power and levels of power where you don't care about money. I'll give you a perfect example of it. I know we keep going back to this, but it was actually a massive pivotal event in awakening so many people was the COVID scam. I said this multiple times in many different countries I visited. I said, if they cared about you, they would have left everything open, maybe put a tax on everything, extra tax percent, whatever, and built hospitals. Why didn't they do that? Why did they lock you all up? Because it's a mass compliance exercise. They want you to comply. They don't give a shit about your health. They just want you to comply. And they want to test how many people comply. And people were saying, yeah, it's all about money. It's all about profit. And I said, that's actually a very optimistic way to look at it. I think that if you destroy the economy and lock everyone in their houses and destroy everyone's businesses, you don't care about money. You're beyond money. You're above money. You want power and you want control. Because once you become actually rich, you learn that the world is all just about people. Right? The best things in your life are people. The best things in your life are family. The things that make you happiest are your friends. Your life experience is the best if you have a good team around you, good assistants, good helpers, good staff, whatever it is. It's all about people and controlling people. What do you want money for? To get other people to do what you want. That's all money is. I want a Lamborghini. I can't build one. He can. I will pay him to build me a Lamborghini. It's all about people. So once you get beyond a certain level of money, and there's a certain level of control you want that money perhaps can't buy, then you think, well, I don't care about the money, I want the power. I don't want money, I want them to stay in their houses. Why? Because it says so. I don't have to, they have to. Ha ha ha. It's funny. And I've said that and sat with people and they said, do you really think people in charge of the world are so petty that they would lock everyone in their houses so they can laugh? I say, yeah, I actually do. I think if you were born into a wealthy family where money has precisely zero value, and you are arrogant to the moon because you're this whoever, and you believe you're God's gift, and you don't, a Ferrari ain't gonna make you happy. Who cares about Ferrari? Ferrari's free, it's pennies. You don't care about any of this shit. What makes you happy is everyone respecting you and being afraid of you. To a degree, you're gonna try and influence some power and fear. I think that's what it is. So I think a lot of these companies, when they're doing these things and they're upsetting people, etc., yeah, it's good that we're fighting back, but I also think part of them enjoy the show. I think part of them genuinely enjoy the show. I think part of them go, you know what? Let's do, this is insane. Let's do this. Ah, they're fighting. I really believe it. I know it's a pessimistic way to look at it, but I think they enjoy the show apart. My principle's worth more. So, and that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of principles, and it goes back to the original point. They're trying to remove all of our morality, all of our basis with the slave mind. That's exactly what it is, and you're right. History has always been that way. And now it's under conscious assault. I've never said this before. I've never even thought this before. This is a brand new thought for me. But I would like to think in times of old, in history, perhaps everybody was the same. Everybody was principled. Everybody had parameters, but they were different parameters. Perhaps they were competing ideas. But I think in the modern world, it's not so much competing parameters. It's just people who believe in things and people who don't believe in anything besides what they're fucking told. It changes every day. You have the empty brains, the slave minds, and the people who actually stand up for something. And the free thinkers. But the slave minds, you can't say, well, they believe in a different ideology, because they don't. They believe in what they're told to believe in on that particular day. It changes. They don't have any true core belief. They just repeat. I talk about the Matrix all the time, and people say, why did you choose that terminology? And I chose that terminology because it is perfectly accurate in describing exactly what is happening. The Matrix is a computer program which is designed to control your mind so that your body can be used to power the machines. That's exactly what happens when they make you watch the news, to control your mind so you continue to use your body, to work some garbage job and suffer from inflation and power the machines. Machines being soulless people who are in charge of the world. But there's also a million other different ways you can compare the Matrix to the real world. In the Matrix, they say anybody can become an agent at any time. If their mind is not unplugged, they become an agent. If their mind is not freed, they turn into an agent. You can see that in real life. Mention COVID to an NPC. Mention Trump to an NPC. You can sit and have a perfectly cordial, normal conversation with somebody for an hour and be fine. And you can mention one of the particular subjects which they are programmed to hate by the Matrix itself, and they will turn into an agent in real time. And you will see them now start to genuinely, emotionally dislike you as a person. They were your friend for an hour. Yeah. Now they hate you. They will turn into an agent. COVID was perfect. I would sit with people and we'd all be friends until I mentioned that COVID's garbage. And now they're an agent. What do you mean COVID's garbage? My friend's grandma was 99 and she got sick. Okay. Sorry, that doesn't change my view. And they change. And the Matrix is actually a perfect, absolute explanation of what's happening. And Morpheus says it, if your mind's not freed, you can be one of them. And that's what's happening. And this is why we don't have competing sets of parameters which are trying to argue about which is the best way to run the world. We have people with parameters who believe in family and love and God and tradition and taking care of yourself and taking care of others. There's people with moral standard and there's people with none. Zero. Empty vessels, agents who are programmed on any given day of what they're supposed to care about. These people can't tell me they care about things. That's what's most annoying about my position, because it's absolutely and utterly weaponized virtue they use against me. The people who hate me because, one, I truly believe, and I know this is arrogant to say, but I feel like I have to say it. There's definitely a massive jealousy implement. If I wasn't so tall and rich and good looking, it wouldn't be happening. They don't fucking like me. They don't like me because I remind them of the jock at school that took their girl. That's part of it, right? They don't like me personally. So it's true. So they try and find an attack vector. And what happens when you have somebody who's monumentally successful across all realms of human endeavor, the only way you can attack them is by calling them a bad person. They can't call me stupid, they can't call me ugly, can't call me broke, can't call me weak, they can't call me any of these things. So how do we attack this guy? Well, he's a bad person. How do you call someone a bad person? You weaponize virtue. None of the people, who are pretending to give a shit about women and that I'm bad to protect women have any interest in protecting women. None of these people think I better become physically strong to protect women. None of them even believe in protecting a woman in a physical scenario. None of them even believe in protecting their family. None of them donate to any charities that involve women, nothing. They're just taking the virtue and weaponizing it and attacking me with it. Me as a person who donates $25 million a year to charity to feed both male and female children. Me as a person who believes I have a responsibility to be physically capable so that any woman I'm walking down the street with is safe. I do more for women than any of these clowns would ever do. But they're just weaponizing virtue and attacking me with it. It's not even genuine virtue. That's what's so upsetting about it. These people, the matrix-minded people, have so few parameters and so few virtue. Whenever there's virtue inside of them, it's only so they can take it, weaponize it, and fire it at you. They don't give a shit about any of the issues they talk about. They don't care about race, they don't care about women, they don't care about gays, none of it. They take it, they put it in a bullet, and they shoot it at the people they don't like. It's all fake. All of it. It has to be an equal and opposite force to all the evil in the world. And that the equal and opposite force to all that evil has to be God. And I've talked about this at length even with atheists, and I try and say that regardless of whether you're an atheist or not, you're thinking of God as a man in the sky, but you need to think of God as a concept as a whole. And once you do that, it's impossible to accept that he doesn't exist, right? I said to the atheists, I said, let's say there was 2 islands. You're shipwrecked, right? And there's 2 islands. Both of them are full of savages. On one island, you and your friend are shipwrecked. On one island, your friend goes and he crashes and they kill him and they eat him. And you go to another island and they want to kill you and eat you, but they don't because it's against their religion. Mm-hmm. Did God save your life? Who cares? Who doesn't even know the name of their God? But their God said, don't kill shipwrecked survivors. And now you're alive. So their God saved your life. The concept of God in and of itself saved your life. You owe God just for the concept of it, the idea of it. So even the idea of opposing evil as a whole is a belief in God. So you're either an evil person or you believe in God in some regard. And then once I understood that there had to be an equal and opposite force, I was raised Christian. I live in a Christian nation. Romania is actually, I think, the second or third most Christian country on earth. It's a very Christian country here. It's churches everywhere. They strongly believe. And that's where I began my journey, but I always had a very healthy respect for Islam because I understand that to a degree, to have a religion at all, you have to have an intolerance, to a degree. Because without an intolerance, you don't have rules, you don't have laws, you don't have any, like you said, you have to earn God's respect. If you're a religion which is tolerant of everything, then you don't have to earn God's respect. You can be a bad person and do bad things. God loves me, so it's fine. Well, no, it's not, because that's not the point of the religion. So then you extrapolate that out, and I was sitting and thinking, well, what's the primary function of a religion? And the primary function of a religion, I don't believe is the religion exists so I can live forever. I mean, that's a nice thought. But I think on a macro level, the primary objective of a religion is to restore and contain some degree of traditional value within the society. How do you judge, let me change the way I worded that. How do you judge the success of a religion? I don't think you can judge it by the number of people who join it, because there's lots of people who are Catholic who don't act Catholic. They don't act in any way particularly Christian. Anyone can say they're something. You can walk into a strip club and everyone says they're Christian. It doesn't mean anything, right? So how do you judge the success of a religion? Well, I like to think the best way to judge the success of a religion is how successful is it at fighting evil? How successful is it at preserving the morality of a population in X parameter, in X geographical area. So when you look at it from that way, you can't say that Islam isn't the most successful religion on earth. It's the most successful in regards to opposing evil. It's the most successful in regards to opposing its differing viewpoints. It's the most successful in regards to having people act within the limits and the confines of what it finds to be moral and good to God. It's the most adhered to. It's the most feared. It's the most respected in most forms. And then also I'd like to, do we respect men we don't fear? If there's a man who could do absolutely nothing to you on any level at all, you might be nice to him, sure, because we're not bad people. But would you really respect him? If you could take his chick in front of his face, set his car on fire, and he wouldn't do a thing, you wouldn't respect him. You might be nice to him because we're not bullies, but you wouldn't respect him. Respect and fear are linked. They're not always the same thing, and you can maybe have fear without respect, but it's very hard to have respect without fear. And also, I heard someone say once that we see the world as we see ourselves. If you're a thief, you think everyone's a thief. If you're a liar, you think everyone's a liar. And I kind of agree with that. I understood that. I also like to think we see religion as we see ourselves. I like to see myself as a person whose respect you have to earn. I like to see myself as a person who has strong, rigid boundaries. I like to see myself as a person who will stand up and say, no, that's wrong. I like to see myself as a person who's not afraid of being shamed by whatever community for saying, I don't agree with that particular ideal. I like seeing myself that way. So if I'm going to see myself that way, then I'm going to naturally align with a religion that operates within that form. So when I say Islam is the last religion on earth, I say it because it seems to be the only one who will stand up and say, no, we don't care. No, that's not what the book says. No. I was raised Christian, and Muslims as a whole, we have no problems with Christians. None at all. I don't want anyone to think I'm anti-Christian, like I dislike Christians. We don't have a problem with Christians. We believe in a lot of the same things. We believe in Jesus. We put more respect on the name of Jesus than most Christians do. I just don't like the idea of people saying they're a Christian and saying, but because I'm a Christian, I can do whatever I want and throw all the rules away and none of it matters. Because once you have that level of tolerance, you no longer have a religion. Islam seems to be the last religion left with parameters. If you don't have parameters, you don't have a religion at all. So the closer I found myself to God, the closer I found myself to Islam. That's just how it ended. I think if you're an exceptional person, a truly exceptional person, you don't have to be afraid of nearly anything. But you'll probably agree with this. In my experience, in nearly every business in the world, you have 10% killers, and then you have a bunch who want the paycheck. They do their job, but I wouldn't say they're killers. You understand? Mm-hmm. And we live in a society for a long time where I can even tell you now, sometimes when I hire, I'll say to my cousin or to my COO, I'll say, look, either get one killer or 3 normal people. Because that's the reality. That's the basic. You either need 3 people to half do the job or you need 1 killer to do the job. And I think that those 3 people who half do their jobs, enough to not get fired, they turn up most of it on time, but they're not really that motivated. Those are the ones who have to fear AI. I think businesses in the medium term are going to become killers and AI. I tell them now, I have some guys who work for me on one particular company and their sales staff. I was reading through the sales scripts. The killers doing really well. But the average guys have said, you're not doing much better than ChatGPT could do right now. I want to warn you that you're not doing much better than I could replace you with a machine today, let alone in 5 years from now, for free. You need to be careful. So I think it's just becoming more and more competitive. The idea that you can just be Joe Schmo, do your job, turn up, I don't try that hard, it's fine. I think that's all going to go out the window because as the world becomes more competitive, as a company, you have to compete with your competitors. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is just where do you cut the fat? Where do you cut the slack? When I see AI popping up and getting more and more intelligent in the way it's talking, that doesn't scare me. But I have a way with words. If I was Joe Schmo, I'd be afraid. This chat GPT can probably text your girl better than you can. He'll probably get laid faster than you will.
That's a little advice for the guys out there right now. Just
plug it into your phone. It'll do better than you do. So that's scary, you know?
That's hilarious.
I think that's what the average man really needs to struggle. And I've been saying this has been my message for a very long time in all realms. I've said for a very long time that life for the average man is going to get harder and harder. It's becoming more and more competitive. You need to find more and more ways to stand out and be unique. And the only way to really do those things, unfortunately, as a man, is to suffer. And that's one of the reasons I'm kind of glad that God put me in jail, because if you look at anything that builds a man into a man, there's a degree of suffering. It's very hard to become a man and have a man who's respected and has stories and is capable when he only had a nice life and nice experiences. It's usually the things that made you the best version of you are usually the worst things that happen to you. So the demons I carry from jail, the fact that I can't sleep. The fact that I can't sleep, I've had girls say to me, you can't sleep, you need to see a psychiatrist. And I said, absolutely not. I would be furious if a psychiatrist walked in here and took my demons from me. I don't care if they could fix me with a click, they're mine. And they were bestowed to me by God. And they are mine to deal with, and they are mine to fix, because that's how I become a better version of me. I would be furious if someone took them away from me. I'm glad I can't sleep. Good, I can train endlessly. That's why I'm bigger than I've ever been. I'll train I'm not gonna waste a minute. But all the demons that have been given to me by God and all the problems that have been given to me by God are mine to fix. I would never, ever allow anybody else to take them from me. I'd be furious. If a psychologist came in and said I could cure you, I'd say, no, thank you, I will cure myself. I don't care if it takes 10 years. I'll cure myself, that's my job. And I know that when that's done, I will be more mentally resilient than I ever would have been without jail. That's the whole point of it, right? So many men say, I want to be the man, but they don't want to suffer, they don't want to fight, and I don't understand why, because even if you look at a superhero movie, they tell you, even in superhero movies, they make it very clear, Batman's parents died, that's why he's Batman. All the bad things have to happen. There's no way to get there without the bad things. I get so many emails from people complaining about their bad things, and I don't have time to reply to any of them, but if I could, I'd say, good. Good luck, congratulations, off you go. Of course she broke your heart. Of course you're sad, of course you miss her. She's with me now. That's life. That's part of it. That's the only way you're gonna get to that level of resilience. You can't become the man any other way. So yeah, I thank God for everything bad that's ever happened to me and all the demons, and I trust that he's not gonna give me anything I cannot, in the end, decipher and deal with. In the end, I think it's a puzzle, and you decipher it, and you work out the best way to deal with it, and you internalize the good parts, and you become a better and stronger and more resilient person for it. So I have to thank God for justify now so much to even protect yourself. The idea that you can just be a law-abiding citizen in a country and just work your job and be okay is gone. It's gone. If COVID doesn't prove that, I don't know what will. Yeah. Look at my situation. You have to diversify. You have to be smart enough that you have assets and friends and capability and lawyers and whatever all over the world now. That's the only way to protect yourself. You can't just sit within one jurisdiction and go, oh, well, but I don't speed, so it's going to be okay. I don't think it is. I think it's coming to a point where it's not going to be okay. And AI is going to make it harder and harder, again, for those average men. It's going to be harder and harder. I don't think the exceptional men are ever going to suffer from AI. I think we're going to use AI. I'm not young. And I'm starting to say that now. I'm glad I'm not young. Because I'm telling you, it's going to be scary, right? Because the world is hyper-competitive. Every single thing in the world is competition. I don't think people realize I'm a hyper-competitive person because I understand that every single thing I want, somebody else wants. The girl I want, other people want. The car I want, other people want. The house I want, other people want. The lifestyle, the jet, every single thing you want, somebody else wants. It's a massive competition. Yep. As a man, you have two choices. You either accept that as a massive competition and try and play the game, or you just try and pretend it's not a competition and live in perpetual failure. And it's going to become hyper-competitive, the world already is. You're not going to be able to compete with a person with a computer brain. So you're going to have it because you can't compete. And once you have it, then who knows? Can they turn it off? I don't know. Can they turn you off? I don't know. Can they inject the slave mind programming directly through the chip? I don't know. That's scary. I would never want to do that, but it's going to get to a point where you're not even a person without it. You can't function without it. You're a second-class citizen without it. Do to me. I'm Andrew Tate. I cannot kill myself. I can't. I'm not allowed. It's against the creed of my last name. I didn't have ancestors who suffered how they suffered, who went through what they went through, for me to be born to kill myself. That's not the end of my story. I refuse. I absolutely refuse. No matter how bad it gets or what bad situation I'm in, I refuse to do it because I have too much respect for my last name. I won't do it. And I think that a lot of things, a lot of men's mental health, a lot of crises can actually just come back to the old adages of honor. And you can fix a lot of it. Your girl left you, you miss her. I get it. We've all been heartbroken. She's with a new guy. You're upset. She doesn't care. You care. I get all of it. But there has to be a point where you get to a level of pride and you just go, that's not who I am. I lost her. That's life. You just got to get on with it. And the best way is to where do you find the strength when you're in these difficult situations? I always find the strength from my last name. I'm Andrew Tate. I'm Andrew Tate, so I just have to do it. I'm in a Romanian jail cell. I wake up, there's cockroaches in my bed. They're all over my face. What am I going to do, cry? Am I bitch out? Am I going to go and sign a piece of paper and say I'm guilty? I'm going to sell my brother out? Is that what I'm going to do? Am I going to go fucking lie and put these and sell the girls out like they want me to? Am I going to stand up and say I'm sorry for saying go to the gym like a pussy? No, I'm going to take the cockroaches off my mouth. I'm going to do some push-ups because I'm Andrew Tate. When shit really gets hard, honor and courage and bravery and your last name is all you've ever had. It's all you're going to have. And it used to be like that in the olden days. That's why no one did this dumb shit. They were just too embarrassed to even do it. And this is why you're saying, how do we fix the country? Absolutely, all of it comes down to the fact that, especially with men, none of them are bestowed with the things that the masculine essence needs to be a good man. You need pride, you need honor, you need a healthy level of ego, you need all of these things. We're taking it all from boys, and what are we giving them instead? Video games, porn, weed. And what do you expect of these people? What do you expect of these shit versions of men besides trash output? You're going to get garbage all across the spectrum. Either they're going to do nothing or they're going to do something bad. They're certainly not going to do anything good when they don't try for anything in their lives. How are they going to do something good? The scary thing about all of this is that there still are two teams in the world. And there is a side of the world where they don't accept this crap. How long is America going to compete globally when you have countries like China and Russia and these other countries where they don't do this? I don't know if you saw, they did that survey to kids of what they want to be when they grow up. Did you ever see that? Yeah. It was crazy. Every American kid wanted to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Every Chinese kid wanted to be an engineer or an astronaut.
Yeah.
Who owns the future? Who owns the future? We're in so much trouble. We're in so much trouble as a society, and what are we arguing over? It's insane.
And what do they show?
I feel like it's almost a race to the bottom for men and women now in the modern society. I don't think women are being very good women. I don't think men are being very good men. And I think both of that is accelerating against each other, and it's a race to the bottom.
How do you fix that?
It's difficult. It's hard. And I still think one of the easiest ways to do that is God. I think if you bring back some degree of morality and some degree of standard to both sexes, I think things will start to get better. I can tell you right now, they talk about why does men not want to get married anymore. Men don't want to get married anymore. They come up with all these elaborate reasons. The main reason men don't want to get married anymore is because their girlfriend was with me for free. So why are they going to marry her? That's the bottom line of it. Why would you, a white dress means virgin. Marry who? A girl from the club who your friends have been with? Do you want to marry her? Like when you remove all of the morality from life, you just end up in a scenario where the only possible logical move is to act without morals. Game theory, right? We sit there and we analyze things logically. If you're going to be, if all the women you meet are immoral, how are you going to act? Well, you act morally, you get wrecked. So how do you act? Immorally. It's a race to the bottom. We have to fix society as a whole, and it comes down to even the most basic things like female promiscuity, the most basic things like men sticking up for their last name, the most basic things like men having to be too honorable and too proud to be out of shape or be poor or not take care of a woman. I'm not just talking about women, I'm talking about men. Any woman who's with me, her life is fixed. That is my job. I'm Andrew Tate. I would be embarrassed to have a girl say, I'm Andrew Tate's girlfriend and have to work a job unless she wanted to. She can do anything she wants. She's my chick. You can have anything. You run the world now. You're with the top G. Anything you want is mine. I'll take care of you in every single way, but you must take care of me. I take care of you financially and physically. You must protect me spiritually. You must do your job. It's a race to the bottom on both sides. And when you have two genders racing to the bottom and then a child is born, what do we expect from this child? Who's raising the child? The school, the TV, the internet? You trust these people? Look what they're injecting into them. So another thing that's very interesting, you talk about the 1950s, another thing that was different. In the 1950s, parents raised their kids. Who raises kids nowadays? School, internet, Twitch. How much time do you spend talking to your child compared to the programming they get from the Matrix? You're losing in terms of pure minutes. You're losing. You can't even control what your child sees in school anymore. You don't even know. And when you find out they do what they did in California, they're like, what? Most people don't even know this. You have children 15 years old, I've seen it on YouTube, arguing with their own parents, disagreeing with their own parents. The whole point of having children is to instill your values in them. I want my sons to be Andrew Tate. They must think and act and be like me. And for someone, I've had people say to me, what if they're not? If they're not, they're not. That's fine. But the whole point of me having them was my lineage. That's the whole point of me suffering to raise them was my lineage. Why would I raise them to be anything other than what I believe I should be and they should be? That's the whole point of it, and I'm proud of that. I'm not going to sit and apologize for wanting my sons to be Tates. I'm not going to apologize for it. I don't care what the school wants them to believe. They believe what I want them to believe because they are mine. But all of that's gone. So then we also talk about what's different between the 1950s and today. These kids are being raised by people who aren't their parents, and whoever's raising them clearly ain't teaching them anything good. It's teaching them, if you feel, act how you feel. You can't tell men that. It's dangerous. You can't tell men to act how they feel. You can't tell men to not have emotional control. You can't tell men to cry anytime they want. Because men don't just cry sad, they cry angry. They cry very angry. You don't want that. You have to teach them stoicism. You have to teach them all of these things. And it's all gone. We believed in hard work and dedication. When they came home and told me something about body shaming or the fact that models can change, I'd say, does that agree with the beliefs and the merits that this family has decided we're going to operate under? Yes or no? I would have a framework, I would have a gate which ideas have to penetrate through. Every idea has to be fact-checked against a gate, a parameters of set values that was stuck to my last name. Honor, courage, discipline, hard work, whatever those parameters are. And I'd say to my child every day, what did you learn in school? And I'd listen to it and I'd say, does that align with our value on this? And also, I'd make this very clear, because this was done to me as a child. I'd make it very clear to my children that they're exceptional. I think every single person is exceptional for different reasons. We talk about normal children, normal families. That doesn't mean they're not an exceptional individual. They can still be an exceptional person.
Totally.
Who knows what they might become?
Sure.
I'd say you're an exceptional. You don't believe what everyone else in that school is told to believe just because it is said. You're an exceptional person, and we have a framework we operate under because your last name is X, and our framework is this. Does that align with hard work and dedication? No, it doesn't. Why are they trying to tell you that? Because they're trying to attack the framework which you need to be successful. My father said to me when I was young, my father had many quotes, and I use them all the time, but one of my favorites was, I allow manipulation to find out where my enemy wants me to go, and then I use my mind to break the trap and punish the perpetrators. That's the exact line I will tell my child. I'll say, they've attempted to manipulate you. We've allowed it. I allowed you to go to school and listen to this. Why were they trying to manipulate you? Where do they want you to go? They want to take you away from discipline. Yeah. They want to take you away from hard work. Now we're going to use our minds to break the trap. We now know what they want. My father explained this saying to me, and he said why it was so important, and it's true. If you don't allow them to manipulate you at all, you don't know where they want you to end up. You might get tricked another way. You might take another road to the same destination. Mm-hmm. You allow the manipulation. Tell me what you want me to believe. Tell me what you want me to understand. Allow it to manipulate me all the way to the end. I see the end goal. Yep. This is what you want. No. And this is what I would teach my children. Explain. Your time in school is going to teach you some very important things that you need to know. And they're also attempting to psyop you and trick you and poison your mind. And we are going to discuss daily, built within our family framework, within the code of our last name, to see which are true and which are lies. It takes work, like everything else on earth. It takes work, and I know it's hard. Parents are out there, they're working, they haven't got time, their kids are on the internet. It's difficult, but you have to put the work in because you are almost fighting an enemy for the minds of your children now. I'm qualified to cry. When you're an 18-year-old boy, you shouldn't be crying. You should be focused, and you should be an animal, and you should be training, you should be working hard, and you should be listening, you should be going to coaching. I'm now at a level where I'm allowed to cry. I understand all the different elements of being a man. I understand the tapestry of masculinity fully. I can cry if I decide to. I've qualified for that. But before you get to that point, you have to go through all the hard shit. And the hard shit I've broken down to the 3 basics. And I think that's why they're coming to attack me so heavily. Genuinely because of what you just said. I'm telling kids things, and especially people often ask me, especially Matrix Media, they say, why did you get so big? Because I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth, which every man knows is intrinsically true in his heart, because God has instilled him with a basic degree of morality of right and wrong. I'm saying things to a 17-year-old boy, and he's going, he makes sense. I get it. Everything I was told so far just didn't quite click, but this does. And that's what they're so scared of. And I agree with you. You're completely right. And this goes back to, once again, we were saying about last names, family values. The number of times I was told I couldn't do something because of my last name, I think that was my whole childhood. My whole childhood is, well, you're a Tate. Dad, I got an A. Of course, you're a Tate. It was just like, duh. Of course you got an A. But what else are you going to get, a B? What, are you a dummy? That's who I was my whole life. I had standards exacted on me. And I've even heard like psychologists, I have a big problem with psychologists. I don't like them as a whole. I'll tell you some of my scenarios. I've had conversations with psychologists. There's a couple good ones, but there's a lot of them who I don't like. And their ideas, you raise children, don't put standards on, don't put pressure on them. How are they going to perform without pressure? Do you have pressure to perform in your business? Because life is pressure, especially as a man. You need to have these exacting standards. That's how it is. My whole life was a pressure to perform to my last name. That's all it's ever been. I don't know how anyone's raised any other way. So yeah, it's crazy. It's a very difficult problem to fix. I agree with you. It's a very difficult problem to fix. But I think it starts with baseline things. And this is also why I feel like I have such a duty to act. I'll give you an example. If I could lie right now for $10 million and nobody would find out, nobody, I still couldn't do it. Because God would know and he'd punish me sooner or later. I really, truly believe that I would pay the price for that lie. I truly believe it. I think if you're a man and you're growing up and you're saying, how do I act? What do I do in this scenario? What would God want you to do? Tell the truth. You'd be amazed how far just telling the truth will get you. In any situation, I can give you benign situations that don't even matter. Your girlfriend caught you. Oh, and no, and I barely know her. Just say, yes, sorry. I love you. I'd love to stay together. But you did this. Sorry. I'm leaving. Okay, goodbye. Next day she's back. You just tell the truth. It could have gone on for weeks. She could have kept spying. She could have called the girl, all this drama. Just sometimes in life, you just man up and tell the truth. That's why in my current scenario, when I was saying earlier,
I think that's the only way you're free, by the way.
Yeah, completely.
Only way you're free.
Truth shall set you free.
It shall set you free. When I was saying earlier, the incompetence of my enemies is scaring me and I don't know exactly what to do. All I can do is just tell the truth all the time. I'm going to tell the truth all the time. I'm going to say what I mean and mean what I say, and I'm going to tell the truth, and that's who I'm going to be. That's what I think is the best thing for me to do in the current scenario. But we're not even instilling that in children anymore. We're not even telling children how important it is to not lie. Well, life's hard. Life's hard. The way we pander and baby children, especially, is insane. I was talking about this the other day. I was talking about how I have a pet peeve, and one of my pet peeves is painkillers. And I was being typical me, and I was going over the top. But I was saying, I was not arguing, I was discussing with this guy. This guy said, have you got any aspirin? I said, there's no aspirin in my house. And he said, why? I said, brother, you are not facing 1% of the life difficulties I am facing. Think about it. No government's trying to lock you up. The Matrix isn't after you. They're not trying to frame you. Nobody wants you dead. When God finally gives you a tiny headache to give you something to show you're half a man, a little bit of resilience, you pussy out and take an aspirin. Can't you just have a headache? Just have a headache. And not only just have a headache and don't mention it, because I don't care. So don't even talk about it. Nobody needs to know. Just have a headache and be quiet.
I have a headache, Twitter.
Yeah. What do you want? Do you want therapy? You want sympathy? Nobody cares you have a headache. Shut up. It kind of goes back into my original conversation when I was saying I don't like psychotherapists and all their garbage, because they're constantly, I don't believe in, I've had conversations with therapists a few times, and my biggest detractors and enemies say, you need to talk to a therapist. The last conversation I had with a therapist didn't go very well. I said I didn't believe in most of their field and that was garbage. And she said, why? And I said, because there are some boys who don't drink alcohol because their dad was an alcoholic, and there are some boys who are alcoholics because their dad was an alcoholic. You have the same scenario and different outcomes. So I don't believe in it. And she said, well, no, it's not an exact science, but we have generalized rules that we can follow that lead to patterns of behavior. I said, but I'm not a generalized person. I'm an exceptional person. So everything you've learned and everyone you've ever spoken to and everything in your books does not apply to me, because I am exceptional and I'm smarter than you and I've done things you could never do, and I'm a world champion athlete and I'm richer than you'll ever be. So nothing you know can possibly apply to my mindset. So why are we sitting here talking? Everyone, when we talk about, we can link back into religion and talk about atheists. I don't think there is such thing as an atheist nowadays. I think everyone has a religion. If you're not religious to God, you're religious to either this woke agenda, or you're religious to a political party, or you're religious to some kind of perversion. Everyone's religious to something. You have to decide what is you're most loyal to above everything. You have to put these things in hierarchy or order. In our last talk, I said this. A lot of people hold beliefs and they don't know where they got them from or why they hold them. There's people walking around who believe things and they don't know where it came from or why they so strongly believe it. They don't even have any personal experience to link it to. You truly believe 2 + 2 is 5. Why? Oh, because it just is, and the news. No. What happened to you that made you believe? Nothing's even happened to you, and you believe this with your complete core. You've been psyoped. I know where my loyalties lie. I've had them in order. I know who I put above others. I absolutely not only know. And sometimes in the most harsh situations on earth, there's going to be scenarios in life which are completely and utterly, they're unexpected and they're exceptionally rare, where you have to make very difficult choices. But I know my hierarchy. I know if I was in a position, a hypothetical, where I had to choose between my brother or my girl, there wouldn't be a, oops, what do I do? I know the choice. It is God. It's God first, and then it's the last name and the legacy in my teachings. I think it has to be God first. I think it has to be God first, because God is the only thing that can resist this insanity. What is happening is truly evil. This is not some different worldview. No, it is evil, because it is dishonest. Anything that is dishonest must be evil. It is a lie. All of it is a lie. It is constructed deliberately to be a lie. It's deliberately constructed to alter the minds of people to believe in lies. It is evil. So it has to be God first, because God is truth. And I believe if I have children who put God first and then put respect for the last name and the things I've taught them second, it's very hard to corrupt them. How are you going to truly corrupt these people? It's going to be very difficult. And that's what I always try and do. And that's how I was raised. I was raised in a Christian family. I was actually raised religiously. Then I thought I was smart when I became atheistic. Because, yeah, there's a lot wrong with the world. And obviously I've already apologized for that and understand I was completely wrong. But respect for my last name, even to this day, is still there. And that's why I say to my girlfriend, if we were walking down the street and 10 men approached with machetes, I'd just have to die. I can't be Andrew Tate and ran away. I just can't. I can't be Andrew Tate and ran away. I can't do it. That's the bottom line.